Namaste yogis, and welcome to Lifted Lotus Yoga. My name is Lacey and it's an honor to be your guide. In this practice, I'll be guiding you through a yin flow. We'll be working our way into frog pose. So I'd like you to grab yourself some pillows, a blanket, and a block or the equivalent of. Roll your mat out, find yourself into the middle of it, and I'll meet you there whenever you're ready. Once you found yourself into the middle of your mat, come onto your knees, separate your knees out about double width of your hips, and go ahead and walk yourself into a child's pose. You can totally use your bolster or pillows to make your child's pose a little more comfortable. You can also use your blanket or block if you'd rather, by bringing the block underneath the torso and laying the blanket over the top of the block. Or you could also just come flat down into your child's pose. Letting the arms relax in front of you. Letting the forehead rest to the earth. Relaxing down through the heart, settling down through the sit bones and the hips. Maybe separating the elbows out nice and wide, winging them out above you, and letting the hands, the fingertips just barely touch overhead. Notice how this softens the shoulders a little bit more. And then just allow yourself to drop into your breath. Feeling the rise and fall of your belly against your thighs. Feeling the expansion of the rib cage with every inhale. And the contraction of the low belly with every exhale. Letting ourselves just be here, sinking into the earth and feeling the earth rising up into support right there through the knees, the arms, and the forehead. The longer you're here, notice how the lower you sink as your body just naturally surrenders into gravity. Continue to let yourself be quiet and soft here. Starting to feel the hips slightly open. The low back gently stretch. Child's pose being a really great place to calm down the body, calm down the mind. Let's take about 5 more rounds of breath in our child's pose. Not rushing through those breaths, but instead letting yourself just witness them. Be very gentle with yourself. Start to just slowly press into the hands And rise yourself up into a tabletop pose. Lining the wrists up with the shoulders and the knees up with the hips. Feet are long out behind the knees. You can have the tops of the feet pressing into the earth, or you can curl the toes under, whatever works best for you. With your next inhale, sway the belly down, gaze and hips rise up for a cow pose. Exhale, start to round the back towards the sky as you tuck the hips and the chin in. Inhale, sway down into your cow, press the heart through the gate of the arms as you open the front of the body. Exhale, rounding into your cat. Draw the belly button in as you press into the hands. Let's go 2 more rounds in our cat-cow, nice and slow. Inhaling into your cow, using that full inhale to get there. Exhaling into your cat, stretching the back of the body, using that full exhale to get there. 2 more, all on your own. Moving with your breath at your pace. After your final one, use an inhale to bring yourself back into a neutral tabletop. Slide the legs long behind you and lay all the way down onto your belly. Bring your elbows out wide and bring the hands on top of each other. And then go ahead and rest your forehead on top of those hands. Closing the eyes, letting your third eye, the middle of your forehead, press into your hands. Soften the rest of the face. Soften the shoulders. Soften the front of the body down into the earth, the sternum, the front of the pelvic, the knees, the tops of the feet. Staying with the breath, just following it as you lay here on your belly. Beautiful. Let's take a cleansing breath here. Big inhale, filling up as full as you can. And an open mouth exhale all the way out. Keeping the upper body just like it is. Identify the right leg. Bend your right knee and start to slide it out to the right side of your body. Having your right knee at a 90-degree angle, the hip at about a 90-degree angle, and your right toes out towards a 90-degree angle. And this is half frog pose, opening up on the right side with the left leg long, still onto the earth. Maybe notice a different sensation here than just being flat on your belly. Maybe you're feeling a slight opening through the inside of the right hip. Maybe you feel it on the outside of the right hip. Maybe you're not feeling much sensation at all, and that's okay too. No matter what you're feeling, take this opportunity to notice. Letting yourself act as the witness of yourself.
Just a few more rounds of breath. Staying soft through the heart, the pelvic, and letting yourself sink into gravity. 2 more rounds of breath. Keeping your lower body just like it is. With your next inhale, start to press into the hands, lift the head up, and slide up onto your forearms, bringing your elbows underneath your shoulders for Sphinx pose. Left leg still long behind you, right knee still out to the right side, right at hip height. You can bring your hands into a prayer right in front of you, or you can let the palms of your hands rest onto the mat. Both options are best. Let the heart press through the gate of the arms as it gently sinks a little bit. Keep your chin about center space. If this is too much of a back bend for you, you can always bring the elbows a little further out in front of you, out in front of the shoulders. But never bringing the elbows behind the shoulders. You always want them just underneath or just in front of. Maybe closing the eyes, keeping the face nice and soft. A lot of yin is just surrendering into the moment, surrendering into the position we find ourselves in. Give yourself this opportunity to surrender. About 5 more rounds of breath. Keeping the upper body just like it is. With your next inhale, straighten the right leg long behind you. Maybe curl the toes under or all 10 toes. Adjust your hips and then lay the tops of the feet back onto the mat. Coming into just a regular old Sphinx pose with both legs long behind you. Press into the elbows slightly, press the heart through slightly. You can choose to stay like this if you'd like. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you can reach over for your pillows. Bring it across the front of the mat and bring your elbows onto that pillow instead, creating just a little bit deeper of a back bend. You can go ahead and sink into the elbows slightly and just breathe into what you're feeling here. If you find the face engaged in any way, soften it out with an exhale. About 5 more rounds of breath. Perfect. Coming off of that pillow, go ahead and roll it out of the way. Well, bring the elbows out wide and roll all the way down, bringing the hands on top of each other and the forehead onto the hands. Sinking into your belly down Savasana once again. Letting the third eye rest on the hands, the chin sink into space. The heart gets soft towards the earth. The front of the legs weigh like logs down into the mat. Letting the shoulders be soft. And just breathing. You're not forcing the breath, you're not manipulating it in any way, you're just breathing. Let's take a nice cleansing breath here. Exhale all the way out. Inhale, fill up. And open the mouth, exhale. Keeping the upper body just like it is. Identify the left leg and slide the left knee out to the left side, bringing it to just about hip height at a 90-degree angle. Bending the left knee at about a 90-degree angle and turning the left toes out. Finding that half frog pose on the other side. And then just allowing yourself to sink into it. Notice how you feel on the left side of the back, the inside of the left hip. And doing your best to not judge this position as good or bad. It just simply is. Knowing that even if you don't feel any sensations, you're reaping all the benefits of your body regenerating as we tap into our rest and repair responses. Our immune system is boosting. Our metabolism is rising. Our heart rate slows. Just trusting in that little bit of magic that's happening in your body as you just be in this position. About 5 more rounds of breath. Letting those breaths just happen naturally, slowly. Keeping the lower body just like it is. Start to slide the forehead off of the hands and the elbows underneath those shoulders again. Coming into your Sphinx pose with your half frog. You can find those hands at prayer on the earth, or you can find the palms of the hands flat onto the mat. Keep your chin at center space so you're not lifting it up or tucking it down. It's just right there at center, reaching towards the front of the room. Crown of the head is arcing towards the ceiling or towards the sky. Perfect. Just about 5 more rounds of breath like this. Keeping the upper body just like it is. With your next inhale, extend the left leg long with the right behind you. Maybe curl those toes under, adjust the hips to where they feel nice and even, and then lay the tops of the feet back down onto the earth. Adjust through the forearms however you might need to find that good, strong, healthy Sphinx pose. Now you can choose to stay here if you'd like. Beautiful place to be. You can choose to come up on that bolster like we just did a moment ago. Or if you'd like to go further into seal pose, separate the feet out as wide as your mat behind you, tops of the feet still pressing into the earth. Separate the hands out towards the top corners of your mat. Spread the fingers out onto the mat. When you're ready, press into the palms and lift the elbows off the mat. So you're lifting the upper body off the mat all the way to the top of the pelvic.
You can choose to stay here, or if you'd like to go a little bit further into this back bend, you can start to walk the hands closer towards the front of the body, taking yourself a little deeper. Keeping the chin reaching towards the front of the room, crown of the head arcing towards the ceiling. Belly button draws in here. Support your low back. Tops of the feet press down into the mat. Engage the legs slightly. Glutes can be engaged here as well as they stabilize the spine. Let's take another 3 breaths. Maybe close the eyes, last 2 breaths. Perfect. And if you're in that seal pose, start to walk the hands down and then slowly lower all the way down. Bring the feet back to a hip width distance behind you. Bring the elbows out wide. Bring the palms on top of each other and lay the forehead down onto the earth one last time. Let's take just about 5 rounds of breath here. Bringing the hands out from underneath the forehead, sliding the fingertips underneath the shoulders. Elbows are up like little cricket legs. Curl your toes under. Inhale, push yourself up onto your knees and press into a tabletop pose. Lining the wrists up below the shoulders and your knees up below your hips. Let yourself gaze between your hands and start to sway the hips side to side. Perfect. Let's sway the hips all the way over to the right and then swing them down and around to your heels, over to the left side of your mat and back up to center. Big circles with your hips to the right. Go a couple more times, feeling the stretch and the mobility that you're creating here in your hips. Go ahead and stop on your next round. Find yourself back into center and sway the hips side to side again. Then sway your hips all the way over to the left, swing them down and around to your heels, over to the right, back up to center. Doing that same hip circle, this time to the left. Trying to go about the same amount of times as you did the first time. So maybe a couple more times. If you hear any pops and cracks, don't worry, that's totally normal. Find yourself back to center when you're ready, wrists below the shoulders, knees below the hips. From here, I'd like you to press yourself back, come onto your knees. Let's reach over for our blanket. Unfolding the blanket to where it's long across your mat, and then bringing your knees onto that blanket for some cushion. We're getting ready to come into our frog pose now that our low back and our hips are ready for it. Go ahead and come back onto your knees into your tabletop pose. If you'd like to, have your pillows or your block close at hand so you can use them if you need them. From here, just like we did in our half frog, we're going to take our knees out wide, out to the outside of our hips, but this time instead of doing one leg at a time, we're going to do both legs. So go ahead and start to shimmy your knees out wide, using your blanket as a little cushion. Point your toes out. Maybe pull your pillows underneath the torso. You can bring your forearms onto that pillow, or if you have a block, you can use that block too. Let the pelvic sink towards the earth, only using the pillow to support the torso, the upper body. Allow yourself to surrender into gravity. This pose can either be your favorite pose or your nemesis. For me, I really enjoy it, so I like to take it a little bit further, but I'll go ahead and stay onto my bolster because this feels nice. For others, this pose can be really intense, opening up through the outside of the hips, externally rotating so deeply that it can even be discomforting. Allow yourself to sit in that discomfort for a moment, knowing that if you feel any pain though, sharp shooting, tingling pain, back yourself out a little bit. Hanging out here for about another 15 rounds of breath. You don't have to count those breaths. Don't worry, I've got you on the time. Close your eyes and just sink into the sensations you're feeling. Sensations in the low back, in the hips. Maybe you're feeling it in the knees, the ankles. Great place to close the eyes if you haven't. And just like how we held our child's pose for so long, notice the longer you're here, the deeper you sink in naturally. Let's take 5 more rounds of breath. Perfect. Whenever you're ready, start to slide the knees back towards each other. Press into the hands, the forearms. Go ahead and push your pillows out of the way if you're using them, or any of your props that you were using under your torso. And then just like we did before, start to sway the hips out. Maybe do those circles with your hips in either direction that feels good to you. If you do go circles, do both directions, clockwise and counterclockwise. Maybe cat-cows feels good to you here. Inhale, swaying the belly down. Exhale, swaying the belly up. Maybe you'd like to do a child's pose here. Bringing the sit bones onto the heels, forehead down to the mat. Knees as wide as the rib cage. Let's all meet in child's pose whenever you feel ready. Notice how this child's pose feels a little different than the first one. Maybe your sit bones sink a little closer towards your heels, or maybe you find it to be a little more comfortable than the last one. And if you're not feeling any of those things, that's okay too. Just notice what you feel here. Do a gentle comparison between the first child's pose and this one. About 5 more rounds of breath. As you feel ready, slowly start to roll yourself back into your tabletop pose. Swing your legs to one side, roll yourself over. You can move your blanket out of the way at this point. Scoot yourself into the middle of your mat. Bring your legs out long and lay yourself all the way down. Maybe you'd like to lay the hands on your belly, or you can bring your arms out wide down by the sides of the body. Finding yourself into a Savasana, closing the eyes, softening the corners of those eyes, softening the mouth, soften the tongue down and away from the roof of your mouth, and then let the tip of your tongue just rest at the back of your teeth. Taking this Savasana to reap the benefits of your practice. Letting all the poses that we did during our time here on our mat sink in, soak in. Maybe you can feel the subtle shifts subtle changes within yourself, both physically and mentally. Take as much time in your Savasana as you'd like. Laying here as long as your body is required to, as long as you have time to. And whenever you feel like you're ready to get up, rolling onto your favorite side, using that bottom arm like a pillow. Slowly pressing yourself up as you feel ready. Finding yourself into an easy seat, legs crossed in front of the other, hands resting onto the legs, closing the eyes, softening the face. Thank you so much for allowing me to guide you today. I'd like to leave you with a single Om. You are free to join me, or you can just listen. I'll do an inhale to prepare, and I'll Om on the exhale. Bringing the hands into heart center. Inhale to prepare. Bowing your chin in towards your heart. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste.